You know, guys, I think persistence is one of the most important characteristics for success in life. And that could be as simple as tasks, just basic tasks. So it could be just, setting something up like this, right? You get it pre-assembled, but you have to assemble it yourself most cases, right? So doing a gym like this one here that I built a few years ago. So doing something like this, all right? Or, even just putting down the mats on the ground, small tasks like this. It's as simple as something like this. If you can keep going through it and persist, you will find success in life. Before we start, I'm giving away my $197 Wealth Builders Toolkit free for a limited period. It's the exact system I use to manage my money and plan investments. So grab it while it's still free, link in the description, and let's dive straight in. That was something my father taught me. So I used to watch him, and he had a tremendous amount of patience. He'd be sitting there and he'd be looking at things like this, and working away on this stuff, even if it took him hours and hours and hours. His patience was just unparalleled. Same thing with, these runners, even putting something up like this, all this kind of stuff, it takes time, right? Even when I was putting this now piece together here, which is like a foosball table, right? Like that took me quite a while to do. So that one just there, right? Just small tasks, first thing in terms of persistence. But it goes beyond doing stuff like that, right? There's also persistence in terms of education. Now, it could be that, at college, it's like a 4-year degree in some cases. And so it's a little bit longer than persisting with a small task like this. So this might not take you that long, but something like going to college will take you a relatively long period of time. So getting your education, maybe it's a 1-year master's, maybe it's just a course when you're studying to become a real estate investor or a real estate agent rather. Maybe you're studying for anything else. So education requires persistence, but usually you'll see the benefit afterwards. Now the same is true going beyond education, because education could take a few years, but something like your career. Now this is really where it all takes off, because your career, now we're talking about something that could potentially be decades, right? So now not everyone is going to have a career, right? Some of us are not going to have careers, but a career is something that lasts a little bit longer, and it does take persistence, right? Like for me, when I went into becoming a university professor, that was something that took me more than a decade, right? In terms of like the undergraduate, the graduate years, masters, PhDs, getting a job, getting permanence, that kind of thing like that. If you're trying to study, you're trying to get permanence, then that just takes years and years and years. And it's the same with most careers, right? If you go into Wall Street, if you go into being a plumber, right? You got to do your apprenticeships, you got to do your journeyman, right? And you have to eventually become licensed. So it takes a long time, but it's usually worth it. Now we're talking about careers here, whether you're going into law, same thing, or you're going to medicine, like any career you choose, right? Takes a bit of time. That's really where I persist. But when you do, eventually, if the goal is worth it, right? It's something you really want. For me, I want to be an academic. If it's worth it, you'll put in those years. Right now, beyond a career, because careers definitely takes a long time, the other thing is like dating, right? Persisting with dating, and that can take even longer. Now, some people, they get lucky, right? Hole in one, so to speak, in golf, right? And the first person they meet. But for some of us, it takes a long, long time. But we don't give up. I know people that, spent from their time they were like 25 until the time they were 35, 36 to find the person that they wanted, right? So it can take a lot longer in terms of that, in terms of relationships. But again, it's going to pay off, and it's the most important. So persistence, like with this particular property here that I'm walking through, this was about 16 months. About 2 or 3 months finding it, getting it under contract, locking it down, making it pretty decent. If any part of my story sounds familiar, I built something to help you shortcut the years I wasted. It's called the Wealth Builders Toolkit. It's the same $197 framework I use to get my finances under control. I'm giving it away absolutely free for the Founders launch. So click the link in the description to grab your free toolkit while it's still available. And then even longer, like once I had it found, once I had it sorted, I'd do so many things with it, like in terms of renovation. And the one thing was just keep going, just never give up. Always persist, right? Because it will be worth, the juice will be worth the squeeze eventually. And when you have something like this you're proud of, right? It could take years and it could take over a year. For me, this was 16 months, right? But it was just definitely worthwhile. So, you know, and everything in life, if you have persistence, if you have stickability, this is half the battle, right? So I really think that persistence was crucial to my success in life. And if you're a young person looking at this, I urge you, persistence above everything else. Persistence will get you there, right? Persevere, persevere, persevere. I know sometimes you're told like know when to quit, and that can be true, right? There can be sometimes like that, but you have to ask yourself, like, you can always fail, but you can fail at least if you've tried, right? If you put your effort in, that's all that matters. Like, could you do any more? Was it up to, because it's like the New Zealand team, right? The rugby team. If it's meant to be, it's up to me. So start where I finished, right? Essentially, when we're looking at persistence and we're looking at something like that, so with persistence, it is absolutely crucial. If you can get that, if you can have that tenacity, that stickability, you'll be much better in terms of employability, jobs, relationships, success in life. So this channel is mostly financial success, but that's just something like that. Again, I hope what I'm doing here can help you. You can click below if you like something, you know, you can enjoy it. You can get stuff for free. It's something that helped me. All these lessons I'm trying to impart here doesn't mean that it's going to make it in one go or two goes. Remember, guys, you don't have to do everything at once. Just do one thing at a time. These are kind of just some key things that really like help in terms of leading to a more happy, productive, successful life. But persistence is like the first major lesson. And that's why I would say, again, just do it bit by bit, one at a time. I did this house night after night for almost 2 years, right? A year and a half about. So it's just persistence is what gets you there. The same with all my real estate, the same with everything I'm doing. I'm doing a hedge fund right now, half an hour a day gets you there. Half an hour every single day. Like going to the gym. There's nothing that can beat that over months or over years. So persist, persist, persist. Remember, you don't have to build everything at once. You can build your perfect life and you can build your wealth one step or one property at a time. And I'll see you in the next one.